Alrighty then. Are you ready to get into the fifth installment of our composition writing series? This round, we have a total of 14 slides to get through, but a few of them won't take that long. I think we should be able to finish in about the same time as usual. This week, we are going to have a look at topic sentences. We will be following the same pattern as always. Because I like to link my lessons to what has been done previously and what will be happening in the future, even though that isn't obvious yet, the number of slides in the Observe and Notice section is gradually increasing. But don't worry, I always set myself a time limit for these videos, and I am confident we'll be finished well within that. So let's do it. A lot of the information we see here is simply a review of what we have looked at so far in this series. We've talked about hamburgers and compositions having clear structures. We've covered subtitles, as well as each paragraph having its own topic. We've also discussed the importance of considering your audience when you write. Then last week, we started to get into the finer points of writing, concentrating on the introduction. We learned the importance of providing background information and a thesis statement, so the reader is better prepared to get into the body of the composition. It is this body of the composition that we will focus on today. So we all know that each paragraph needs to follow its own topic, right? In the past, we've used subtitles to show the readers what the topic of the paragraph is going to be. Well, another way, and perhaps a more advanced way of showing the topic of the paragraph, is by starting with a topic sentence. Each paragraph within the body of our compositions should start with a topic sentence that introduces what the paragraph is going to be about. Then, the rest of the paragraph provides examples and details to support that topic sentence. The balance is kind of similar to the background information and thesis statement in the introduction, but it is important to note that the topic sentence usually comes first, whereas the thesis statement was the last sentence in the introduction. Like last time, let's have a quick look at just a couple of paragraphs from previous compositions. In this paragraph, from the passage about Gaelic football, we see that scoring is going to be the main focus. This is obvious in the subtitle, but we also see it in the topic sentence. The rest of the paragraph gives the details about how to score. Then we have the email. Even within an email, we can be using topic sentences. Here, part of the first sentence shows that the writer is moving on to the point of ideas for the classroom. In this example from the Hills Hoist story, we see that the paragraph is going to be about how the clothes become dry just by reading the first sentence. The details are written after the topic sentence, and you should also note that at the end, the writer is still focusing on the clothes drying, which is what he or she should be doing. Okay, now we have this week's new example composition. The writing is describing a photo. In this case, it is a photo of a city in Australia. As always, the first thing we should check and notice is that the paragraphs are clear, and it is not just one big chunk of writing, and that those paragraphs are pretty much a similar length. At this stage, this composition appears to be passing with flying colors. Let's just focus on the body of the composition in this video. The first topic sentence makes it clear as a bell that in this paragraph, the buildings in the background are going to be the focus of attention. After that, there are a couple of examples and details about those buildings. Nice start to the body. Next, the topic has changed to the middle of the photo, and the river that can be seen there. Once again, the rest of the paragraph works on developing the topic of the paragraph by giving a little history and a couple of examples. It's easy to read, and there is plenty of good information for the reader. Remember, we want our readers taking something away from our compositions by learning something new. I think that the writer has provided that here. Then finally, in the third paragraph of the body, the topic is once again painfully obvious. It is going to be using the park in the foreground to introduce the amount of nature in Brisbane and how people become part of that nature in their everyday lives. So we could see 3 excellent paragraphs with even better topic sentences, not only in this week's composition, but in the ones we've looked at over the last couple of weeks as well. Make sure you look over them once or twice before we have class. Okay, so now it is the time you've all been waiting for. Your turn. Your task for this week is to take a photo of something and then provide a description of what can be seen in it. Keep the main points from our previous lessons in mind as you are writing, but try to spend a little extra effort on getting those topic sentences strong. Like the composition we saw this week, I'd like you to keep it fairly casual and easy to read. Alright, that is it for this week. Make sure you are ready for our usual vocabulary test and Dictogloss task. You must have your composition ready for class so you and your classmates can read through it and give each other some advice. Have all that prepared, and I'll see you in class.